Hey guys, it's Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. As you can see by the title of today's video, today I am discussing the Blair Witch Project from 1999, directed by Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez. And let me tell you, I am so freaking excited to be talking about the Blair Witch Project today because the Blair Witch Project is absolutely in my top 5, maybe even my top 3 favorite horror movies of all time. I absolutely adore this classic. And even though it wasn't the very first found footage film to ever exist, it is 100% the ultimate found footage movie. In 1994, 3 student filmmakers hike in the Black Hills near Burkittsville, Maryland to film a documentary about a local legend known as the Blair Witch. The 3 disappeared, but their equipment and footage is discovered a year later. Can I just say that this film is one of the main reasons why I am so bummed I wasn't of age in 1999, just to witness the sensation this film was when it was released. I mean, I was alive in 99, but I was way too young to know what the hell was going on with this film. Like, being 14 or 15 around this time, 1999, as a hardcore horror fan, that would have been such a time, because this was just so much different than from what was out and popular at the time. Like, you got the late 90s teen sexy slashers, Scream, I Know What You Did Last Summer, which, don't get me wrong, I freaking love those films, of course I do. This was just so different because, as you all know, it was set up to be real, and a lot of people thought it was real. I mean, just the marketing campaign for this film. Were these people really missing? Is this really their lost footage? They fabricated that they were actually missing, and then there was this website, and then that sci-fi documentary thing. It just kept stirring up confusion and excitement and intrigue for the film itself. But then the film comes out, and obviously it's not real, but it still went on to become one of the most successful independent films of all time. And like I said, it is the ultimate found footage movie. Like, when you think found footage films, the Blair Witch Project is typically the first one that you think of. I bet some would argue like Paranormal Activity, but I personally think the Blair Witch Project is the mommy of the found footage genre, which is my second favorite subgenre of horror behind the slasher. And listen, I know that Cannibal Holocaust from 1980 is claimed to be the first found footage type film, and maybe that's true, but that doesn't make it a good film. Like, real animal deaths aside, Cannibal Holocaust is a terrible movie. It is a bad film. It's boring. It is so dull. The only thing it may have going for it is the score, like the music, but it is a film that's literally only acknowledged for its controversy. And I don't care that it technically birthed the found footage subgenre. It doesn't need to be respected just because of that. Sorry. Anyways, that was my small rant about Cannibal Holocaust, I guess. But yeah, we're not here to talk about that piece of shit. We're here to talk about the Blair Witch Project. Heather, Mike, and Josh. They make this movie what it is, in my opinion. They were perfectly cast. They all give phenomenal, underrated performances, which, when they were casting for the film, they wanted actors who were comfortable with improv and comfortable with being out in the woods and just comfortable with being scared. And just the way it was ultimately directed and how immersed these actors had to be in this world just made for such convincing and grounding performances. And some people love to claim that this film is just simply 3 people arguing in the woods for 80 minutes, and that it's boring and the ending has no payoff because you don't see anything. Personally, I would watch Heather, Mike, and Josh argue in the woods for like another 30 to 45 minutes. I enjoyed every second of that because it just felt so real and genuine and funny at times and sad at times and just frightening at times. Like, the chemistry that these 3 people had and how they portrayed that dread of being lost, of going around in circles for days, and how convincing they made the whole ordeal seem and just how hopeless and frustrated they were becoming at the whole situation. How the hell is that not entertaining? I just think it works so well, and a lot of people thought this film was real. So also, in regards to the film not showing anything, like not showing the witch, for example, I mean, I would hope that I wouldn't have to explain that you don't always have to show the audience everything. Sometimes what we don't see is actually a lot scarier than what we do see, and that some things should just be left up to the imagination. Okay, some of my favorite moments and quotes from the film, which there's so many, this film is so iconic. Of course, when Mike admits to Josh and Heather that he kicked the map in the creek.
It was useless! I kicked that into the creek!
When they find all that creepy stuff hung up in the woods and Mike is like, we gotta get out of here, and Heather's like, I need this shot though. So good. When they're woken up in the middle of the night and someone or something is shaking the tent, they get out and they start running and Heather goes, oh my god, what the fuck is that? What the fuck is that? And obviously the most iconic scene from this film that's been parodied to death, Heather's apology.
I am so sorry.
But speed round of some of my other favorite moments from this film.
We've destroyed most of our natural resources. Let's just keep going.
America. God shine your grace on thee! Tell me where you are, Josh!
Another sequence that's so underrated, in my opinion, is after they've been going around in circles in these woods for so long. And there's a moment where Josh is filming Heather and he says something to the effect of,
okay, here's your motivation. You're lost, you're angry in the wood, and no one here is here to help you. We walked for 15 hours today. We ended up in the same place. There's no one here to help you. That's your motivation.
I just really think that's such an underrated interaction. I've always loved it. Oh, and when Heather finds Josh's teeth in his flannel, but then like the same night, they hear Josh screaming for help in the distance. And of course, the ending, in particular, that ending shot. This has got to be up there in the top 3 scariest horror movie endings for me. When Mike and Heather find that creepy house and they hear who they think is Josh again screaming for help, and then Heather eventually finds Mike standing in the corner facing the wall, and then she screams and the camera falls. I get chills every time I see that to this day. And yeah, it's true, you don't see anything. It's all camera work, it's all sounds and very understated imagery, because all we see is Mike standing in the corner for a few seconds, kind of going back to the urban legend that is briefly discussed in the beginning of the film. We don't see the witch. We don't see Mike or Heather or Josh getting killed or getting possessed. It cuts right before we see anything, and I swear sometimes the stuff that your mind comes up with is like 100 times scarier than anything they could have put on the screen. I also highly recommend looking up the alternate endings that they shot for the film. None of them are better than the ending that actually made it into the film, but they're still really fun to watch. Yeah, and just the found footage subgenre is one of my favorites because that element of realism, and also just stylistically, I find found footage films to be visually some of the most interesting films. And in the Blair Witch Project's case, a really beautiful film. Like, this film is so beautiful. And I know found footage films can make a lot of people really sick with the shakiness. That never really gets to me, and I don't find the Blair Witch Project to be overly shaky or hard to follow or anything like that. In my opinion, this film still holds up today, and it's still just genuinely one of the most entertaining and unique films and just terrifying films that I've ever seen, and I love it to death. I mean, it was a phenomenon, and it still feels so authentic, and it's still such a gem and proof that you can do so much with so little resources and budget. And no, I haven't actually seen Book of Shadows yet from 2000. I do own the VHS tape for that one, and I'm fully aware that it's bad. I still would like to watch it in its entirety one day though. And yes, I have seen the 2015 Blair Witch film. I saw that in theaters when it came out, and I recently rewatched it. Yeah, it's painfully average. There's like one really good instance of special effects that really grossed me out to my core, but overall, it's an incredibly bland film, absolutely no spice or seasoning at all. And yes, I have heard that Blumhouse will be behind a new Blair Witch Project film. We'll see what the future holds. Yeah, I want to thank you guys for listening to me talk about the Blair Witch Project today. Drop a comment if you want. Let me know what you think about the original Blair Witch Project. Also, what are your thoughts about the found footage subgenre? I'll have all my links in the description box below. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video.